Hi everyone. We're the Go-Go Girls. I'm Alexis.
I'm Luisa.
I think you cut out a little bit, B.
Oh, you're muted.
My God, my bad. I'm BNA.
It's okay.
Okay, so this is Crystal's part. I'll just start off with it. So one thing that she would take away for like her future was just social justice and equity. She said that she wants her future students to feel safe and welcome in the classroom, but also have opportunities to like understand what they're learning so they can take that knowledge for their future lives. Something that she wanted to keep in mind to best support her students, she wrote the following. She said that she would try and gather information about their families and their background, their communities, and try to incorporate that into her own like lesson planning and instruction. She said that she wanted her lessons to be relevant to their lives and so that she could like develop plans that will be effective in their understanding. Overall, she just wants her classroom to be um, full of, or sorry, full of readings for every student to enjoy and bring in things from students' cultures that could build off of her own teaching and then like teach the other students about that as well. Um, Something that she wanted to keep in mind for her future teacher self, she said that she wants to keep in mind the inequalities that students may face in their own lives and try and bring that into her own occupation. And she just hopes that everyone in her classroom feels safe and loved and, they're excited to learn in her environment. And then she said some plans for her future were to never stop learning, like for herself, which I think is really a good plan for her own future. And for us, she said that she wants her students to grow along with her, which is super cool. And then she wants to ensure that her students come into the class where there's a welcoming environment that supports diverse learning. And she hopes that those students' needs are supported.
And for me, one thing that I will take away for the future is to never see the students' language as a problem. And I would always like criticize, policymakers and administrators for making this a problem, right? For making like, oh my gosh, we have so many students who do not speak English or whatever. But then when one time I was asked I don't know if it was to enter in the program for the TEP or for student teaching. I don't remember which one, but it's like, what is one of your biggest fears? And then I said, oh my gosh, being able to teach content and language. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making it a problem. myself. So I thought about it, and after this class and several classes, I thought, well, you know what, it's going to be I'm going to try to see it as an adventure, and just just as Crystal said, just try to learn about them as much as we can and make it a good experience for everybody. And I think that's the most important thing, that students will remember, us as teachers as, something that they enjoyed, but they also learned. So that's one of the things that I'm going to take away for the future. And for the next question, how will I make sure that I keep in mind the ideas to best support my students? Is teaching metacognitive strategies that promote interlinguistic dependence, just like cognates, especially for Spanish speakers that are learning English. Those cognates that are very important. They're very cognates are words that are the same or almost the same in two languages. And English has cognates with at least 6 languages, and Spanish is one of them. And fortunately for us Spanish speakers, a lot of those cognates are very common in Spanish, and they're considered academic in English. And I think I've said this example before, but like we said in Spanish, rápido, and if we said rapid in English, that's like a higher level, like in a different tier of the vocabulary. So that's one of the benefits of that. So, and there's several metacognitive strategies that I am ready to teach my students. And for the next question, what is one thing that I will keep in mind for my future teacher self is also keep learning all the time. And I feel like as right now, I just completed my student teaching, and like in my practicum, my teacher used to ask me, oh, so what's the new research? So what are we supposed to be doing? You know, like, and I love that. Like, I love that she would ask me those questions, because I'm here in the university learning the new stuff. So she would ask me this, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a practicum student, and then have her tell me or something, you know. Try to be always, you know, current in research, besides learning about my students. So, and for my plans, well, I'm ready to have my own classroom, but I'm thinking of starting maybe like in a new school year, so maybe August, not like January. So I am still thinking about applying for the master's program. So have like one semester done and then start and then continue. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. And that's me. Thank you.
So this is my slide. What I said I wanted to take away from my own future was that every student is different. So like from a lot of the course readings and things that we did this semester, I feel like it was really emphasized that not one program or instructional method would work for every single group of students. It really just depends on like you as a teacher and your district and the kids that you see every year. So I've just learned that in the future, I will have to make like the right adaptations and modify the models that I've learned about and just kind of meet those needs of my students. And then I also just want to take away that like differences should be valued in the classroom, and like diversity should be like respected, I guess. One thing that I wanted to keep in mind to best support my students was I wanted to just keep in mind the instructional practices that I learned to place within my own classroom. And then I also wanted to just keep in mind like mindfulness and awareness. I kind of wanted to do that for not only me, but like my students, and just teach them, you know, how to like use their differences like as a tool, and to use their like second languages or like their culture, their home, everything like that, and just see it as something that should be valued, you know, rather than like an obstacle. And then one thing that I wanted to keep in mind for my future teacher self was that language is a big part of someone's identity. And I think it was in one of the past chapters that we learned about like the connection between language and human identity. It was in one of the modules, but that one was really stood out to me because like heritage language and the things we touched on kind of I related to really big. And then I also thought that was something really important for my future teaching career, because I think someone said it in a video or something, I can't really remember, but that like if you are bashing, or if you're not valuing a student's home language and you're kind of like dismissing it, it's almost like you're dismissing them. And I thought that was really significant. So I just want to show my students that their own home language and culture is valued. And I think that will not only like help them with their sense of self, but also just help everyone kind of feel loved and valued at school. And then last, my plans for the future. I want to be a teacher here in New Mexico, elementary school or like middle school. I'm not really too sure yet. So we're going to see, but I'm hoping to graduate next year and in May. So then I can hopefully get like my own classroom and start applying and be teaching maybe like the year after at the start of the school year. And then overall, I just want to really better the lives of my students that I come into contact with, which I think most teachers do. But that being said, I just want to create like a positive learning environment where everyone feels safe to be themselves. And that's that.
Okay, so then this is my slide. For the first question, what is one thing you will take away for your future? And I think this kind of relates to Alexis's first one too. It's just like constant reminder that every student is different. They're gonna like have differences in language and their backgrounds in everything. So language is a strength and a tool that can be used to enhance students' education, whether they're monolingual, bilingual, or multilingual. And another thing that goes along with that is I will also study the different approaches to bilingual education offered in all school districts to create an all-inclusive classroom where everyone feels valued rather than just focusing on teaching English and they get English. I want to make sure I'm supporting them and making them feel welcomed in the classroom. And then how will you make sure that you keep in mind these ideas to best support your students? And just by valuing differences and noticing the differences. So for a while, I kind of thought bilingual and multilingual were the same, but now I know the difference. So by that, noticing the difference to see if they only speak Spanish and a little bit of English, because when I think of bilingual education, I think of Spanish speakers, but that could be different. I can go to a different school where maybe I'm teaching kids who know Japanese and they're trying to learn English. Whatever the case may be, I just need to kind of figure out the differences and how to approach them. And then teaching students to read, write, and speak across all academic topics to strengthen overall comprehension. And I read somewhere that ELLs will get mathematics a little bit easier than speaking the language, probably just because like numbers really don't change in language. Well, not necessarily, but I feel like mathematics is a great tool to use to kind of strengthen the vocabulary that we use when we speak English. So that's how I can use that as a tool as well. And incorporating dual reading books in languages that are spoken in my classroom to again support inclusion. Okay, and then what is one thing that you will keep in mind for your future teacher self? And what I feel is I must remember that curriculum changes in every school district and in every school. It's not going to be the same if I teach here in Las Cruces and then if I go to El Paso. It's going to be slightly different. They're going to have different approaches. So kind of just be open for change and adapt and not just become comfortable with one way that I learned. And yeah. And then my plans for my future is I just want to be a great teacher. As much as I really want to, I want to be a good teacher and support all my students in the classroom. And hopefully in a couple of years, I have my own classroom and make it, fun and enjoyable for everyone to come to class and kind of feel like it's their second home, especially for some kids who don't have that great of a home experience, which I know that we will eventually come into contact with that. And then I also want to shoot for my master's in education if, my life persists with everything that I have going on. And I also want to become more involved at NMSU. Go Aggies.
Okay, and then what we learned as a group, I think that we all really learned that group work is beneficial, and when you communicate with one another, it really helps everyone to just stay in the loop and like complete their work to like their best ability. And I think it was really good because we got to share new ideas and just collaborate with each other. And I like that about this class. We also said that that we were really flexible with our meeting time. So I think that's important to keep in mind just for maybe future, even in like the workplace, but also more importantly in our future courses. I think that we can just take a lot from what we learned about peer support and communication and group work from this group, especially. And then that responsibility is also a major thing.
Yeah.
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 I also liked our group and how we, texted each other like constantly, and I feel like it's because I know I mentioned it so much, but I was semester in teaching this semester, and I had the group of second graders, like a little group, and with chat, and then we would chat about everything. And I felt like this class was a lot like that, like, oh, we have to do this, just like getting that practice of that's what we're going to do. Like, even as teachers, we are going to collaborate all the time. We have to, like, I was in second grade and my student teaching, so all our second graders would do the same thing, kind of the same thing. So we would have to like agree and plan and everything. So I felt like this was a good practice because you know, having to work with schedules, having to work with a different family, different like, you know, we have families, we have jobs, we have, so it's a very good practice for whenever we are actually teaching. So I really like this experience, and I really got to know, you know, Alexis and Vianney and Crystal much more. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this group too. I feel like it was a lot less stressful than any other group work I've done because we communicated well, we had a group chat, we all did our part. I mean, it was just honestly probably the most easiest and fun groups I've been in a very long time.
Yes.
Okay, so then we'll wrap up. And then on the last slide, I put something a little corny. It says, "We came, we shared, we learned, we conquered, and we are the Go-Go Girls." So,
Yes.
thank you for watching our presentation.
Thank you. Bye-bye.